In today's video, my biggest tips to help you when you're trying to go from looking like this to looking like this, and how you can avoid cravings and hunger. Hey guys, what's going on? This is Paul Rebella from ProPhysique.com, and today I got a great question on my Instagram direct message. Guys, I've been dieting for a while now. I'll put a video right here so you can kind of see something from me in the gym locker room the other day. I'm getting to a point where I'm feeling really good about my physique, but it didn't happen overnight, okay? It takes time to reach that. And while you're going through that process, you're gonna deal with hunger. And today's question from right here on my Instagram direct message, well, I wanna help you guys understand how you can be better prepared. Do you have any tips for fighting cravings? I stick to my diet really well until late at night when I'm winding down. I almost eat out of boredom. All right, guys, so I'm gonna talk to you a little bit. I got some research to talk to you about that's gonna explain what satiety is. But basically, guys, every time that we eat, we digest some food, and as our stomach gets empty, there's hormones at play, leptin and ghrelin are gonna say, hey, you need to go eat again. So this can actually fight against us because the psychology of being hungry, your brain will say, hey, I need to eat for whatever reason, even though you might have a goal that requires you to eat less than you've been eating. So I wanna talk about what are some of the most common practices and understanding the research of what satiety means. Universities have actually gone on, and I'll show you some of the research here, and looked at foods and tried to understand what foods have higher satiety. And I'm gonna tell you those foods throughout this video, but I think they're foods you're probably gonna correlate with healthy foods or successful foods. But it's not just about the foods that you eat that has to do with hunger. Our bodies adapt to our eating patterns. That's right. So when you hear people that are successful with fasting, the reason why timing your food throughout the day helps is because those hunger signals are going to be more associated with your normal patterns of eating. So if you can delay your morning meal a little bit, if you can plan your evening meal a little bit better before bed, you can avoid things, okay? Snacking out of boredom can be avoided by planning better for that last meal. So first, let's talk about the biggest thing that you can do right now, right away. Even if you don't want to go on our free calculator that's right here, I'm going to tell you how much protein you should eat per day. Now, protein is very filling, okay? And most people underconsume protein. Even if you're trying to be conscious of it, it's very difficult to get a lot of protein in unless you're like prepping your food, because eating out, it can get quite expensive. It's also, of all the three macronutrients, protein, fat, carbs, I think protein is the most difficult to be consistent with. At least that's what I've found, and I do this for a living. However, getting your protein to a number like your goal weight, guys, that is just an easy suggestion, okay? Everyone wonders how much protein you should eat per day. Whatever your goal weight for your fat loss goal, if you hit that protein number, you're gonna be hitting your leucine threshold, which is what maximizes muscle protein synthesis. So those of us that are concerned about adding muscle is gonna do. But if you hit that number and you break that up over 3 or 4 meals, man, I can tell you, you're gonna feel very full. Something else that most people don't do when they're actually hungry, it's often dehydration, right? So if you make an effort to consume 16, 24 ounces of water with each meal, this is something I'll do. I'll actually set a glass aside, have my meal, and then I'll have another glass of water after, and I promise you, you'd be surprised how filling fluids can be. Now, I don't want you running to the bathroom because you're over-consuming fluids, but another trick of mine, especially when I'm getting lean here, guys, I'm probably a little bit below 10% body fat right now. We're in the middle of a 30-day get as shredded as I can challenge. And so afterwards, I'm gonna show you the before and after results. I'm about a week away. We're gonna be doing an update here soon. But when this happens, when I get below 10%, weird things start to happen. And for me, to avoid cravings, this is probably my favorite thing to do, okay? Between meals, I will actually plan either a coffee or a diet soda, or there's these like 0-calorie bubbly drinks. I think sometimes the sweeteners, the caffeine, and also just getting some bubbles, okay? Just getting something that kind of gives you the sense of eating or drinking some sweetness. It can really help me ride it out for a few more hours. Also being consistent with my meal timings, eating at the same times each day so I know when to add those snacks in is huge. Now, what are the foods that I told you about earlier? I'm gonna give you the 3 top foods for satiety. And I think it's funny because one of them is something we probably think of as a little too calorically dense, something you might get when you go to the movies. But guys, one of my favorite things to have at night when I want a snack is air popped popcorn. That's right. Listen, if you strip away all the butter, what you're going to find with air popped popcorn is a lot of volume. so you get to eat it for a while, right? It's low calorie. It's actually quite high in fiber for the amount of calories that you get. So this food helps you with your cravings, right? You can put some flavoring, some seasoning on it. Just try to avoid putting the butter on it because butter, you know, it's high in fat and that's going to be a little more calories. But air popped popcorn, you can really eat a lot of that, especially late in the day. And it's going to give you that sense of, wow, I got to eat something. You're going to feel full and then you can go to bed. And if you have some of that planned, you might not reach for junk. And I think, you know, the biggest thing we can all do is have food available that's going to help us reach our goals. Because if you only have junk food available and you get hungry, guess what you're going to grab? You're going to grab the junk food, right? So the big picture here, guys, is planning ahead. And that popcorn for me has been a big one. The protein source that has the most satiety was a little surprising to me, but it was fish. But I think sometimes fish can tend to have a little bit more fat in it. So that would make sense. But fish over things like steak. Now, do I find that I stay fuller on fish? Typically, no. I find that I stay fuller on steaks and red meats and things like that, even chicken. But I think they're fairly similar. I also use, because I am lactose intolerant, I can't do whey protein, which is a big pain in the butt if you're a person trying to get a lot of protein. I worked with the supplement company that sponsors me, Core Nutritionals. Guys, if you want to get any supplements at corenutritionals.com, Paul R20, I got to say it every now and then. But I created my own vegan protein powder through them. Amazing flavoring. And that actually keeps me very full. So I'm going to give you a strategy around how to plan your cardio and training as well. But for me, this protein right here has been a game changer because I can have a couple scoops of this on a moment's notice and my hunger is gone, okay? I think the protein being a little bit more plant-based has something to do with that. I just noticed with whey protein, it would just go right through me. Once I noticed I was lactose intolerant, literally, but it digests much quicker in my younger days. Whereas with the plant-based proteins, now I'll tell you this, my plant-based proteins taste amazing. I really look forward to them. I just mix them up with water. Sometimes I'll make a smoothie, but that's another great way to get your volume up of your food and avoid hunger. So if you're worried about cravings, what is the best absolute #1 food? It's actually boiled potatoes. That kind of threw me, but I thought about it and I thought, yeah, you know, when you eat a plate of potatoes, it's 100% carbs and no fats. One of my favorite things to buy at the store is these Ore-Ida. They're pre-shredded and you can cook them in the 0-calorie kind of cooking spray. And they're just pure carbs. And it's one of my favorite staples for fat loss because you get a lot of high volume. And when I'm dieting, trying to lose weight, what I like to focus on is if I'm getting protein, it's from a protein source. If I'm getting fat, it's from a fat source. And if I'm getting carbs, it's from a carb source. That allows me to have a little more food volume, also a lot of food variety, because if you're eating something that has multiple macronutrients in it, your portions are going to be a lot smaller, okay? So overall, how do you avoid cravings? By planning ahead, by making sure you're getting enough protein, by making sure you're getting your water in, and try adding these foods in, okay? Try adding in some fish if you're not doing that. Certainly some boiled potatoes, see how that goes. And popcorn has been a game changer for me. So it's funny that the research actually aligns with what I have experienced over the last 10 to 15 years as a competitive bodybuilder and as someone who coaches people, looking at their food logs and saying, hey, let's try making these swaps and things get better. Let's go, guys. Let's keep working towards our goal. I'll talk to you tomorrow.